Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at Grustas Brady on X. You can follow me there. And your San Francisco 49ers are 9-4. The 49ers, not 4-9, but 9-4. They beat the Cleveland Browns 26-8 to get their ninth win of the season. And they got a little lucky with some of the other games across the league as well. We're going to go over all the grades from week 13, offense, defense, and special teams. And then, of course, stick around until later in the show because we'll be talking about the NFC playoff picture, which has some big shakeups this week. But of course, before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below. The support has been fantastic so far. Leave a like, leave a comment, and let's get into it. I'm in a bit of a different space today. The lighting's not great, but hopefully the analysis and hopefully the video will be just as good as ever. I want to start out with the special teams grade, and I'm going to give the special teams an A-. This was nearly a perfect performance by the special teams unit. This is the best special teams unit in the NFL. Sure, you can argue Seattle's number one in EPA per play or whatever, but I think genuinely, if you take out that week one performance where the 49ers were just dragged down by Jake Moody, this unit has been unstoppable. Jake Moody is the only 49ers kicker to miss a field goal this year. Really think about that. The only 49ers kicker to miss a field goal was Jake Moody. Jake Moody played one game for the 49ers all the way back in week one. It's been amazing to see what Brant Boyer has done with this unit. They are consistently either the best or the second best unit on the field for the 49ers. Sky Moore, by the way, revelation. The guy is phenomenal. He had a 98-yard kick return 2 weeks ago, 66-yard punt return this week. Not quite enough juice to score a touchdown on either of those plays, but I really think he's going to break one before this year is over because he has gotten just better and better and better as the year goes along. I love Sky Moore. He's really won my heart as a fan, and I love watching him play out there. Shout out to number 9. He's got the longest return, both punt return and kick return, since 2011 for the 49ers. So breaking franchise, some franchise droughts is Sky Moore. Shout out to him. This game, there was no snow, luckily, and there wasn't any rain either. We were able to avoid what was kind of promised, right? I expected this to be like that Buffalo game last year, which was totally snowed in. But all the weather that the 49ers had to deal with was wind, right? The winds were very strong and very unpredictable. There were gusts of up to like 40 miles an hour. Pretty insane stuff. But despite that, the special teams was able to fight through. Matt Gay, man, he had a scary kick to end the half. 49ers went into the half up 10-8, but it was not without complications. Matt Gay had like a 25-yarder, doinked off the left upright, and went in. I was on my knees, distraught, because I really thought that it missed. I didn't even see where the ball went after it hit the upright. I thought it missed at first. Thank goodness it went through the uprights, because man, Matt Gay, that is like a career-ending kick if you're a kicker. Like if you miss that, you're done. You're not getting a job anywhere. No more of those, please. Okay, no more of those types of kicks. He did have another one, which he hit. Matt Gay has not missed a kick yet, not a field goal or an extra point, although he has certainly tried. He's looked good so far, so shout out to Matt Gay there. And then, there were by the coverage unit, there were 2 forced fumbles. There was one muffed punt return by the Browns punt returner. Niners recovered that one. And then Nick Martin got in there and forced I believe it was Nick Martin, or maybe it was Isaac Guerendo got in there and forced a fumble on a kickoff. That was not recovered by the Niners. Cleveland got that one. Actually, I do think it was Guerendo. Shout out to Isaac Guerendo for making that play. Yeah, the special teams unit, fantastic. They gave me a little heart attack there, so I'm putting them at an A-. But other than that, they were just absolutely fantastic. Now let's talk about the defense. The defense also played really well. I'm going to give them a B+. This certainly could have been an A. I would understand the argument for it, but I'm going to go with a B+ here. because there were multiple huge fourth down stops. There were 3 fourth down stops by the 49ers defense. You look at the stat sheet and, there's the one fumble, but there weren't any interceptions for the 49ers defense. So you might think, oh, they didn't play so great against a really bad Cleveland offense. Well, that's not true. They did force turnovers, but the turnovers they forced were turnovers on downs, right? 3 times the Browns turned it over despite going for it on fourth down. There was one on Judkins where Jordan Elliott just got in there untouched. That was a sweet play. There was one where Harold Fannin took a direct snap and could just kind of dropped it. 49ers fell right on it. Those were the 2 big ones where the Browns were really in the game. And then, of course, there was a big slam down by Keon White to make it like a 4th and 20 something. Keon White looped around the offensive line, had a free shot on Shedeur Sanders, and drilled him. Just absolutely drilled him. Great play by Keon White. And then I think there might have been one more in garbage time, but regardless, I don't really count that one. I will say, though, not a perfect day from the defense by any means. Only 8 points allowed, which is great. That's the fewest points allowed by the 49ers all season long. And it's also the fewest points scored by the Browns all season long. So 49ers offense playing really well in the key spots, right? I think in general, the run defense is still kind of a problem. The Browns were able to run the ball a whole lot better than the 49ers were in this game, certainly. But because the Niners offense was able to get so much of a lead, the Browns were kind of forced to throw, right? I will say the tackling, I think, needs to be better. I saw Curtis Robinson miss a couple tackles. Upton Stout missed a few, or, one notable one I saw. Keon White, I saw, missed one. You got to be better about the tackling. But, only allowing 1 score in an entire game, it's a great result for this defense. I thought the coverage was pretty good. Not great, but pretty good, certainly. And the pressure was good enough, right? Like we said, Shedeur is going to create pressures out of nowhere, and you've got to be able to capitalize on that. And the 49ers, I think they could have done better, but they did a pretty good job. 3 sacks on the day, 2 of them by Clelin Ferrell and 1 by Keon White. White was fantastic. He had 6 pressures in this game, which is as many as Myles Garrett, believe it or not. So Keon White was absolutely whooping the Browns' offensive line. And then Clelin Ferrell, he's had 4 sacks in his, it's been 4 games for the 49ers? Let's see. He was brought in for that Giants game. So it's been Giants, Rams, Cardinals, Panthers, Browns. So this is his 5th game. His 5th game with the 49ers, and he's got 4 sacks. That's pretty amazing for a guy who I think his career high in sacks in a single season is 4.5. So Clelin Ferrell sneakily been one of the best additions the 49ers have made all year, and he was just a street free agent in the middle of the season. So shout out to Ferrell, shout out to Keon White. Those guys are playing great, and I think they're playing themselves into a spot on this roster next year. Now let's talk about the offense. Offense, I'm going to give them a B grade. I'm going to give them a B because it started out pretty ugly. There were 3 punts in the first half, and the only touchdown drive in that half came after Sky Moore's big 66-yard punt return, right? The only real scoring drive that they managed was a field goal right before halftime, which of course was the one that Matt Gay nearly missed. So first half was definitely rocky for the 49ers offense. If you look at the drives in the first half, 0 drives had more than 10 plays. 1 had 10 exactly, and that was a punt. So definitely struggling to move the ball a little bit earlier on in the game. But in the second half, there were 3 drives with 10 or more plays. Ball control was a lot better. They scored 16 points in the second half compared to the Browns. 0 points. Offense was definitely in control after halftime. Let's talk about Brock Purdy, man. He looked good. This was a really good game from Brock Purdy. I don't care about the box score. I thought he looked great. His extending with his legs was fantastic. His internal clock was great. His pocket feel was amazing. He doesn't look hurt. He doesn't look like he's playing hurt. He took plenty of hits, right? There was a lot of pressure, but he shook them all off. He was extending great. He knew when to scramble. He knew when to throw the ball away. He was mostly pretty accurate. Had maybe 1 play that I thought was a miss. He had that sweet read option touchdown. That was awesome. I don't think the 49ers have run read option once this entire season, and they whip it out at the goal line after, baiting that Christian McCaffrey run on the prior touchdown. That was another thing. I thought Kyle Shanahan, his play sequencing was amazing. You could see it in real time. They're hitting them with the same runs over and over and over and over. And then they come out in that formation at the goal line and they hit him with the read option, get the defender to bite perfectly. They were really setting up the Demarcus Robinson kind of end around handoff sort of thing. They were setting that up with motions prior. Kyle Juszczyk was motioning all over the place. He's just running around in circles in the backfield. Although on that very first play of the game, he had that fullback leak. Nice play. I think literally on the first offensive play of the game for the 49ers. And he did the Puka Nacua C-gap motion. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but Sean McVay's been doing this thing where he takes Puka Nacua and he motions him into the backfield. And then they snap the ball while he's in the backfield. And what he does is he releases through the C-gap, which means he goes in between the guard. He goes like right in between, right next to the tackle, right? And he sneaks out right next to the tackle. Looks like he's going to block, essentially. Like it looks like they're motioning him into fullback to block. But what he does is he goes past the tackle, scoots out route, or maybe he goes for a dig or whatever towards the flow of the play. And he's wide open because he's coming out of the backfield. It's so hard to guard him out of that sort of alignment. And that's what the 49ers did with Juszczyk on that first play of the game. They've got him running cardio back there. It's pretty fun to see. Kyle Shanahan, he's in his bag, man. It looked ugly in the first half, but I thought Shanahan, he's a great play caller, and this is his best coaching performance season long I've ever seen. Kyle Shanahan, he should be your coach of the year. I know we're talking about the offense as a whole right now, but Kyle Shanahan, you are on one. But yeah, back to Brock Purdy. I thought he had a really good game against a really great defense. This Browns defense is legit. All the talk about them, they backed it up, right? Brock, A+ feel in the pocket. I thought it was awesome. Now, the run game was not good. The run game was ugly. The longest run of the game for the 49ers was only 9 yards. And you know what? This Cleveland defense is really good. I'm kind of willing to make some exceptions here. But the 49ers, they called 33 run plays. That's usually an indicator that you're, controlling the pace on offense. So although it's ugly, they were still slamming it. I thought the O-line was pretty good. There were lots of pressure. Purdy was pressured on over half of his snaps, which is, I believe, the most by any 49ers quarterback this season. I might be mistaken there. But only 1 sack allowed, right? They did just enough to let Purdy escape. I think if Mac Jones were back there at quarterback, this game would have looked a lot uglier for the 49ers offense. They could certainly improve going forward, but they, holding the Browns to only 1 sack is a feat in itself. So I want to give the O-line some credit. I think the offense, they just did enough to win, right? That's where I gave this B grade. They did enough to win. 0 turnovers on the day from the offense. That was huge. 11 for 17 on third down. That's something I talked about in my preview video. You've got to win third downs. 49ers are one of the best third down teams in the entire NFL on offense, and the Browns were a top 3 third down defense in the NFL, right? So it was a real battle of the heavyweights, and the 49ers were dominant. They were really, really good on third downs, especially in the second half. So very, very impressive performance for the 49ers in this game. I'm giving the special teams an A-, the defense a B+, and the offense a B. Feels kind of weird to have the offense as the lowest grade, but that first half was pretty ugly, I suppose. But what do you think? How would you grade this performance for the 49ers? Who is your highest graded individual 49er in this game? I think for me, it's pretty tough, but I might have to go with either Brock Purdy or Keon White. I think those are my 2 absolute standouts in this game. Malik Mustafa deserves a shout as well. And now let's wrap up this episode by talking about the NFC playoff picture. Just 6 days after losing to the 49ers on Monday Night Football, the Panthers pull yet another upset out of their you-know-what. The Panthers defeat the LA Rams 31-28 behind 3 turnovers from Matthew Stafford, a fumble, and then 2 interceptions, one of them returned for a touchdown. So it's not so easy to beat the Carolina Panthers when turning the ball over 3 times, now is it? I see. I see. Maybe the LA Rams got a little too big for their britches. A little bump in the road for the Matthew Stafford MVP campaign. Thank you, Carolina Panthers, for pulling off that upset, because now the Rams are 9-3, which means they are only half a game ahead of the 49ers, sitting at 9-4 for the lead of the NFC West. Now, if the Niners want any shot at the division lead, they're going to need the Rams to lose another game. And we'll see if that happens, right? The Rams are a very good team still. And I was very surprised by this upset. I'd be very surprised if they lost another game so far this year. And the 49ers would need to win out, right? Basically, if the 49ers want to win the division, there's two things that need to happen. Rams need to lose again. 49ers have to beat the Seahawks. Those are the two main things here. If you've ever heard the phrase control their own destiny, the 49ers do not control their own destiny for the division lead yet. Now, if the Rams lose again, that's a whole nother story, right? But if you look at the rest of the NFC playoff picture, the Niners have a better record than the Philadelphia Eagles, who are currently a top 4 seed considering they lead their division. Niners at 9-4, Eagles at 8-4. And the Niners are also only half a game down on the Chicago Bears, who are 9-3. And the Bears are the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. That is unbelievable. The Bears, after beating the Eagles on Black Friday, jumped them in the standings. And then, of course, they jumped the Rams after the Rams lost to Carolina. Now, we've been talking about the wild card spots for the 49ers for a month now. This has been a discussion point. But the 49ers have a record that is worthy of the number 1 overall seed. You can't really even argue that. They are half a game back of the Bears, who are currently the 1 seed in the NFC, right? I don't think it's likely that the 49ers will, be the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. I really don't. They will need a whole lot of extra help. But if you keep winning, good things may certainly happen for San Francisco. It's obvious to me, after watching the Sunday Night Football game, Broncos and Commanders, that any team can beat any other team in this league. So if the 49ers are able to keep stacking wins, who knows? Maybe they end up not only winning the NFC West, but as the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. I also want to shout out the Panthers and the Cowboys, who got some pretty big wins. Cowboys beat the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. Panthers, of course, beat the Rams. Those two are certainly not out of the race just yet. Now, if we look ahead to next week, we'll talk about this more in the coming week, in the bye week, right? But the 49ers are pretty much guaranteed to go up a spot in the playoff seeding because the Bears and the Packers play each other in week 14. So one of those teams losing is going to make room for San Francisco one way or the other. So we've got an exciting bye week coming up. We've got some really fun videos planned. But that's all I've got for this episode. What was your reaction to this win for San Francisco? Let me know down below. And of course, let me know if you enjoyed the episode. Leave a comment, leave a like, and let me know if there's any topics that you'd like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers videos 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas, at GrustasBrady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I'll see you tomorrow.